chill crept through the thick forest as dusk rapidly gave way to full darkness. While summer campfires and city streetlights were meant to ward off the primal unease of night, here among the ancient trees there was only shadows and the distant hooting of unseen predators. Jennifer glanced worriedly at the road ahead, their sole flashlight's glow barely penetrating the tangled undergrowth on either side of the cracked dirt path. She had been wary of this course from the start, despite Dylan's assurance that help could be found if they just pressed on a while further. But she knew the others only agreed because remaining in the enclosed woods after nightfall was unthinkable. Mark walked with confident strides several paces ahead, as if mapping the route himself could hurry their escape from this place. He had waved off her concern as old wives' tales, insisting man was top of the food chain even in this wild place. Still, she noticed the taut set of his shoulders and the way his eyes frequently scanned the tree line, quicker at every strange sound carried on the windless air. Behind her, Emily limped with tentative steps, her bare foot raw where vicious brambles had torn the skin. Jennifer wanted to carry her friend to spare her further pain, but knew their collective strength was needed now more than ever. At least Dylan stayed close, his larger form offering sparse comfort as he watched the shadows just as intently as the girls watched him. Jennifer stumbled over an upturned root, nearly falling face first into the sparse undergrowth. As she regained her footing, a faint rustling rose from the nearby brush, sending a chill through her core. "Did you hear that?" Mark scoffed without slowing. "Probably just a rabbit or squirrel. Stop scaring yourself over nothing." Emily's eyes gleamed with a haunted cast in the flickering light. "Maybe we should turn back?" Dylan ran a hand nervously through his hair. "We've come too far already. The road has to lead somewhere." But Jennifer was no longer convinced. The whispers rising through the trees carried an edge like serrated blades drawn across her nerves. She lifted the light higher, desperate for its feeble glow to reveal the normal. Instead, a thick mist rose suddenly from the loam, clinging with oily tendrils to their exposed skin and clothing. Vision narrowed to a few feet in any direction, rendering them blind prisoners in a living tomb of fog. Mark at least had the sense to double back, his labored breath ghosting in the chill. "Everyone stay calm," Dylan said, though his voice quavered. "Just follow the sound of my voice until we're clear." But the trees seemed to warp and bend at impossible angles through the roiling vapors. Sounds shifted until it was impossible to track the speakers' locations or trust one's senses. Jennifer reached out blindly, her grasping hands finding only empty air. Panic seared her chest as utter isolation sunk icy talons into her soul. Something whispered in her ear, an oily rasp like insects crawling over dead flesh. She whirled, light arcing through the soupy mist, and glimpsed two hollow black voids staring from the gnarled tree opposite. A scream ripped her raw throat, but was swallowed by the muffling gloom. In the distance, thrashing sounded as the others fled in random directions, hopelessly lost from one another in this living grave. Jennifer sank to her knees amid the muffled noises of despair, knowing the terror had only begun and escape might never find them in the old forest roads churning dreams of dread. The morning mist rose from the damp earth like the breath of some ghostly leviathan rousing from an eternal slumber. Through the rolling wisps, dim grey light revealed an enormity of trees in every direction, their knotted trunks twisted like corrupted sentinels, constricting the cloying mist. Jennifer shivered uncontrollably, hugging herself in a futile attempt to leach warmth from her thin raincoat. The terror of the previous night lingered behind her eyes each time she blinked, manifesting anew as shadowy tendrils reaching from the gnarled boughs. Though exhausted to her core, she had slept not a moment for fear of what hollow dreams the forest might conjure. Staggering through the mist-choked trees, she called out hoarsely, straining her ears for any response besides her own fading echo. Her throat ached as raw as her nerves, fraying further each time the blank woods swallowed another desperate cry for aid. Long minutes stretched before a faint rustling raised hopes of rescue, then plummeted her back into despair. Through the fog emerged Emily, limping badly on her mangled ankle, yet wearing an expression far more harrowed than mere physical pain could evoke. "You're alive!" "Thank God," Jennifer breathed, rushing to support her friend. "But where are the others?" Emily shook her head mutely, eyes glistening wet in the pallid light. Blood stained her shins almost black, as if she bore some primal wound upon her soul no less grave than her injury. A shriek pierced the mist, dopplering into the distance with uncanny speed. Jennifer whipped around, light flickering over the trees to glean any clue to the source. But the enveloping slurry revealed nothing beyond its own menacing grasp, constricting her breaths until spots swam before eyes clenched shut against visions conjured from madness or memory. "Steady," Emily soothed, though her own face blanched paler by the moment. "We have to move carefully. Something followed me through the night." Jennifer forced deep breaths to quell her quaking, stealing her resolution as she took Emily's weight upon her shoulder. One foot lifted, then another through the clinging muck, every squelching step carrying them deeper into mysteries better left unsolved. "Wait." Emily clutched her arm with icy fingers. "Do you hear that?" From the murk emerged a ragged moan as of a wounded beast at the threshold of oblivion. Jennifer's blood ran cold, recognizing the timbre. Mark, driven beyond endurance by some nightmare only glimpsed. She crashed blindly through the fog towards the guttural cries, hope and horror wrestling for dominance within her spiraling thoughts. Emerging into a small clearing, she found Mark huddled against the base of a massive oak, its bark blackened and scored like pages scorched from some infernal lexicons. His eyes rolled wildly beneath lank hair matted by sweat and clotted blood caked onto his exposed flesh. "It followed me, wouldn't stop, couldn't escape." He rasped between frantic breaths, shooting mistful plumes skyward. One hand gripped the soil as if to anchor himself against being dragged back into whatever phantasmal terror had crushed his mind to this primal state. Emily tried talking softly as she might to a wounded animal, cautious yet soothing. But Mark convulsed violently at her touch, flinging himself away with a banshee howl that curdled the marrow. In his crazed scramble, fingers closed around a gnarled branch lying amid the fog-slick mulch, hefting it like a cudgel against unseen assailants. Jennifer raised trembling hands, fighting to keep her own panic at bay, lest it kindle his to madness unopposed. "Mark, it's us. You're safe now." Wild eyes flashed between them, unfocused, yet seeming to perceive predators through the mist where friends should be. The branch swung loosely, leaving a trail through the mist that Jennifer dared not follow with her gaze. In this realm gone askew, the veneer of rationality had long since shredded, leaving only instinct and the basest impulses untempered by reason or mercy. "We have to get him out of here," Emily breathed, bracing herself against a tree. Her face glistened with exertion, strength ebbing with each labored heartbeat. Jennifer nodded grimly. Moving Mark by force risked setting off further violence, yet leaving him meant demise would find them all in this place. She extended a hand slowly, hoping memory of past companionship could breach the walls erected around his stripped psyche. "Please, Mark, we're losing time." Her voice trembled despite efforts to project calm authority. Dylan needs our help too. You don't want to let him down, do you?" Mention of their lost friend sparked something primal beneath the madness. Recognition flickered, then steadied in Mark's wild eyes. The branch lowered incrementally as he focused on her outstretched palm, grasping for the remains of their former bond. In a single fluid motion, he seized her wrist and flung her bodily aside with brutal force. Jennifer crashed through leaf litter and clawed vines, tumbling to a jarring halt against the gnarled oak's bony roots. Blackness swam at the edge of vision as throbbing pain engulfed her senses. Through the haze, she glimpsed Emily charge forward, heedless of injury, arms outstretched to restrain Mark before he regained full coherence. A bestial roar shattered the misty quiet as man and woman became a tangled, thrashing mass among the undergrowth. Mark's greater size and strength worked to terrible effect, fingers twisting in Emily's hair to slam her face first into the tree's pitted bark. Jennifer struggled upright on shaking limbs, realizing with dawning horror that in this place reason held no sway, leaving only the feral instinct to destroy that which could not be controlled or understood. She looked on in paralysis as Emily's struggles weakened, scarlet blooming upon the ancient tree. Something streaked from the encroaching fog atop the trunk, materializing with the impossible grace and swiftness of a nightmare. Mark reared back to meet this new threat, branches held high, and found claws and fangs sinking deep within flesh bared for death's embrace. His final scream was cut brutally short. Emily's prone form shuddered one last time before falling utterly still. Through the fading mist, Jennifer beheld their assailant with open-mouthed dread. Not creature or man, but something that encompassed their savage essences within its aberrant symmetries, wrought beyond nature's design. Pale limbs ended in talons, black as the tree's viscous sap. Its body rippled with corded muscle beneath translucent flesh in turns, corpse gray and luminous as phosphorus, veined with an inner radiance that writhed just beneath the surface. Most potent nightmares paled beside a face that was at once exquisitely formed and blasphemously distorted, gazing upon the ruins of its handiwork with an alien cast beyond human comprehension or mercy. It cocked its head, regarding Jennifer with eyes that burned like twin suns birthed within the event horizon of some nameless abyss. A hissing sound escaped its gaping maw, as thin as a dying man's final breaths, carrying hints of words in a language no tongue of earth could shape. It knew. Understood her fears, her fleeting thoughts, her very soul torn open for its spectral dissection, and through its eyes she glimpsed a cosmos of eldritch majesty and malign intent for which humanity was but kindling, soon snuffed out in the darkness between the stars. This then was the terror that walked these woods, calling all life within its deadened boughs. An incomprehensible evil cloaked in seductive beauty, toying with its victims' sanity and lives alike before reaving them into the abyss from whence it came. Its hiss rose to a keen that shattered tree limbs and rattled Jennifer to her bones. She broke from her trance and fled screaming into the mist-choked forest, driven by the same evolutionary compunction that had served her kind against the many terrors stalking Earth since time immemorial, fight or flight. But in this place, only flight remained, and even that was surely in vain against such a nightmarish force of annihilation. Still, she ran blindly through the encroaching mist and trees that seemed to conspire in, closing the noose, listening for the telltale crunch of needles that would herald the monster upon her trail. Escape was impossible, yet surrender meant facing that aberration and seeing into the void that had birthed its alien majesty. Better to be lost within the shifting mists and sounds of prey drawing near. Let madness take her, before cold death could claim flesh for its blasphemous designs. anything to avoid gazing once more into those twin suns and bearing witness to the ineffable things dwelling in the outer dark. For in that moment of contact, Jennifer knew their roles had been reversed. She, the quarry, and it, the true overseer of this forest primeval that had stood since before man first crawled from the primordial slime. A shriek rang out behind, not quite human, yet all too mortal in its agony, abruptly cut short. Her lungs burned, legs turned to jelly, but still Jennifer fled blindly into the mist-cloaked woods, the monster's keening laughter chasing her towards some nameless end within the old forest road's deadened boughs. Thanks for listening to this story. Put a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new stories.